YouTube, what is up? Back here on the Fantasy Football Perspective. I'm your host, Lucas. Welcome back to the show. I just got back from vacation. Had a great vacation with some good family and friends. Went to the lake, went to Vegas, just enjoying life. A lot of news happened over the last couple of weeks. Injuries, big time injury updates. I got a special one for you today. We're going to discuss my running back tier list. Now, I don't do the traditional cookie cutter rankings each year. I make tiers based on how I think the running backs are going to do. And this year's is based purely on 2021 redraft leagues. It doesn't have a dynasty perspective involved. This is just purely based on how I think they're going to do this year. I'm going to explain what each tier means. It's not in any order. Once you see tier one, I have, spoiler alert, I have two running backs in tier one. I think they're pretty interchangeable. So whatever one that you personally choose, that's the one I'd go with. But enough of the intro. Let's hit that formal introduction. YouTube! Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Perspective. Today, like I previously said, we're going to dig into my tier list. Some rules about my tier list before we get going. I don't specifically have an order once they're in the tier. So I have, for instance, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people in my tier 3. That's not the order that I would have them ranked. I think they're all going to score about the same amount for this year, so you really can't go wrong with any of them. I highly suggest you guys use your own research when creating your own rankings or tier list, because your opinion is what matters when it comes to your fantasy team. If you do research and think that I'm off on some, that's fine. Let me know what I'm off on in your opinion, because I'm very curious what other people are out there. With this tier list, I usually update it weekly. I try to keep up on all the news out of camp, all the newest injury reports. I even pay attention to like receiver injury reports when I'm doing this running back list, QBs, because everything plays a role in how efficient the offense is going to be and just the overall volume the running back position is going to get. One more rule about this list is that this is purely for the 2021-22 season. Redraft league, and this list is specifically for half or full PPR. If the rules in your league are a little bit different, this list may not be for you. Hopefully you're on the PPR train, points per reception at this point. If not, hop on board because it's a lot more fun. And yeah, let's dig into it. My tier one, cream of the crop, my favorite two running backs who I think have the highest potential to be the number one overall running back for the 2021-22 season are Christian McCaffrey and Alvin Kamara. The reason I think so is just their workload. CMC always gets that high workload, catches, runs. He did have the high ankle sprain last year, but he sat out enough games last year that I don't think it's going to affect his overall ability this year. As an athletic trainer, when it comes to previous injuries, I try to keep them uninvolved with this list, but it's kind of hard, if not impossible, not to, because the research actually says if you have an injury history, you are more likely to get injured. So I try to take each injury by itself and make assumptions based on that injury, the news associated with that injury, how the rehab's going, how quickly they're going back, kind of use that news to kind of compare to what I've been experienced with, like rehabbing some of my athletes and seeing how, trying to make like an assumption of how their rehab's going and how well they're progressing through it. So I use that information to kind of put them in tiers based on that. High ankle sprains are difficult to come back from, but there's been no bad news from camp. Um, he sat out enough games that I think that it's pretty much fully recovered. Like I said, though, a high ankle sprain or any other injury, you do have a higher likelihood of injuring that body part again after it's been previously injured. So you are running that risk. Alvin Kamara, I think he has a chance to be one of the number one running back as well, because Michael Thomas is out, and his usage when Michael Thomas is out is off the charts. So if you have the number one pick, if I had the number one pick, I don't think you can go wrong with either of these at this point. Tier 2, right under the best, right under the cream of the crop, is Dalvin Cook and Derrick Henry. Dalvin Cook's a heck of a running back. Great when he's healthy. But I have to admit, his injury history and his likelihood for injury is high. That kind of scares me off of him. He played 14 games last year, and that was considered a pretty healthy season for him if you compare it to his other games. So he just scares me. His injury likelihood is scary. Little caveat to these kind of statements about injuries are running backs are probably the most prone to injuries in the game of football just because they're constantly getting hit. So most of these running backs on this list have suffered some sort of injury throughout their career. It's going to happen. They all have high workloads. So I'm trying to play the statistics and trying to isolate players who I think have a higher likelihood. That's a very good tool that you can use to kind of gain the edge on your opponents. For instance, we'll take our next running back, Derrick Henry. He has had no real injury history, but his usage is so high that statistics will tell you they can't hold up that usage for that long without suffering some sort of injury. So I think he is, as years go on and he has that many carries, that many stacked boxes, that many hard hits, eventually his body's going to wear down. It's not a predictable number, but eventually it's going to happen. So I kind of get a little scared with Derrick Henry as well. Plus, he's not really involved in the passing game. That's frustrating. He does get 2,000 yards rushing. That's awesome. He's very high touchdown percentage. Awesome. But his lack of pass catching does give me a little red flag in PPR. That's why I have him and Dalvin just one notch under the best. Still both have a chance to be the top number one back if everything goes correct. So, tier 3, potential league winners. These are those guys that honestly have top 3 potential, but everything needs to go right for that to happen. And that is Ezekiel Elliott, Saquon, Eckler, Aaron Jones, Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb, and Najee Harris. Let's start off with Zeke. He was really good with Dak under center last year. After Dak went down, his percentage of snaps went down. His efficiency went down. He just wasn't putting up those same numbers. So Dak comes back. Are they going to start feeding Zeke the ball again? That's a question. Is Tony Pollard going to be more involved in the offense? If every situation goes correct, Zeke turns into that workhorse running back again. I mean, would it be surprised if he was the top 3 running back? Absolutely not. Saquon Barkley. Question mark with him is, how's that ACL doing? They're taking it really slow with him. I haven't heard anything bad, like that rehab's not going well or he's had any setbacks. But the pace that they're going with him is kind of alarming. When I've rehabbed people in the past, I get them back to full participation, usually within 6 to 9 months-ish. He's kind of hitting that mark already, and they keep pushing it back a little bit farther. Actually, he tore it week 1 last year, so he's, 10 months out, and he's not back full playing, full participation yet. It's kind of alarming. Did he have a setback? Are they keeping that down? Who knows? It may just be they're playing it safe. But we all know Saquon's a hell of a player, and if he's healthy, he's going to produce in your lineup. He does get the pass-catching role. So top 3 running backs not out of the realm of possibilities. Austin Eckler, I specifically like Austin Eckler in PPR formats. Now, I don't think truly that he's a 3-down workhorse running back. I don't think he has the size for it. But his targets when Justin Herbert became quarterback last year were off the charts. It is not out of the realm of possibility for him to get 5 to 10 targets a game. That would not surprise me at all. If he averages 7 catches a game and scores 10 touchdowns, that's a heck of a season. Throw in a couple rushing touchdowns on top of that with his rushing ability, upgraded offensive line, upgraded quarterback play, hopefully recovered from his hamstring injury last year. I mean, he looked good at the end of the season after it, so it should be pretty well set as far as the injury category. I'm real high on Austin Eckler in season long. Aaron Jones, his big situation is that Aaron Rodgers situation looming over Green Bay. It came out today that Aaron Rodgers reported to camp. I think Aaron Jones is criminally underrated. He is one of the hardest running backs in the league. He will literally lower his head on anyone, and he's not a big guy. He's a great goal line back. His efficiency at the goal line has to be top 5. He puts his head down and just mauls people at that line. If he continues to develop and get the 3-down roll, now that Jamal Williams is out of town, he has top 3 upside as well. JT, Jonathan Taylor, will he keep the same role with Mac returning? Now, I know in a couple videos ago we talked about Cam Akers with the Achilles tear. Well, Marlon Mack had an Achilles tear as well. No running back has come to their past form of the running back position after an Achilles tear. The only difference between Marlon Mack and Cam Akers is their specific roles inside the offense. What I mean by that is no one was counting on Marlon Mack being a 20 rushing attempt guy on their offense. With his lower workload, if he starts stealing 5 to 8 carries from Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines comes in and gets the pass catching work, what role does Jonathan Taylor really have? Huge upside if he gets that 3-down role, but what role are these other running backs going to be having involved in that offense? Nick Chubb, I think he's the best true running back in the game. Probably him and Derrick Henry equal. The only problem with Nick Chubb, he gets no pass catching work. Towards the end of the season, he was getting a little bit of the screen passes. If they continue that and he can get 30 to 50 catches on top of his running, he has top 3 upside. The only problem is his backup running back's going to deserve the ball too with Kareem Hunt. He is a heck of a running back as well. It's a good 1-2 punch in Cleveland. Najee Harris, I think it really depends on where the Steelers go and what's Big Ben's status. Last year they were so heavily dependent on the pass. If they get back to that Steeler ground and pound game and Najee Harris is out there getting 220, 250 carries on the year, watch out, man. He can put up great numbers. They need to get back to using the run to open up the pass game and not vice versa. He could have a great year. I don't know how good Najee Harris is out of the backfield catching the ball. I know he got really, really elevated stats last year for that Alabama offense. He got better, But how true is that? NFL is a different game. Alabama had the best offense in the NCAA last year. He played a big part on it. But the catches won't be as easy in the NFL. All right, tier 4. And this is what I say, big potential. This is the guys that could boom or could bust, and it wouldn't surprise me either way. First one, Joe Mixon. Is he finally going to be the workhorse? I feel like we hear this every year. But this year, Gio's out of town. That's the third down back. So is Joe Mixon going to fill in that 3rd down role as well? If that happens and the Bengals offense clicks like it should with all those weapons, not to mention the negative game scripts they're going to have because their defense is not very good and they're going to be down a lot, passing the ball a lot. If Joe Mixon is in there on those passing downs, he is going to have a great year. Top 5 potential for sure. Antonio Gibson, the same thing. How good will their offense be? How many rushing red zone opportunities is Antonio Gibson's going to be. They still have J.D. McKissick on the third down back. Is Antonio Gibson going to start taking away some of those third down opportunities from McKissick? If everything falls right, Antonio Gibson has top 5 upside. David Montgomery, he's great without Tariq Cohen. His usage is so scatterbrained when Tariq Cohen's in the lineup. How will they use him? You hear these reports out of camp that they're looking for him to be the 20-25 touch back. And I think that happens, especially with Cohen dealing with the ACL stuff right now still. But when Cohen comes back, does that continue, or do they start incorporating Cohen back into that third down role? If everything works out, he's got top 5 upside. And J.K. Dobbins, is Lamar Jackson going to continue to take touchdowns away from J.K. Dobbins? They get down to the red zone, Lamar Jackson's a touchdown scoring machine. If that trend continues, J.K. Dobbins is limited in upside just because of touchdown potential. If Lamar stands in the pocket more, hands the ball off in the red zone, Dobbins finds the end zone 10 to 15 times, you're looking at top 5 upside. All right, moving on. Tier 5, this is just regular potential. Now, these are guys I think could be top 10 if everything falls right. Doesn't have the top 5, but top 10 if everything falls right. We got CEH, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Chris Carson, DeAndre Swift, Darrell Henderson, post Cam Akers, and Myles Gaskin. Let's start off with CEH. He has all the potential in the world. He's on a great offense, but the problem is with the Chiefs, when Patrick Mahomes is scrambling around out there, he's not looking for those little dinks and dunks to his running back. He's looking to hit Tyreek Hill on an 80-yard pass, Travis Kelce over the middle for 30. He's not looking at these short, intermediate throws that CEH usually runs for that Chiefs offense. So is that going to change? They did upgrade their offensive line, which will help open some holes for CH, but he's not a big guy, and he doesn't really have that acceleration / burst to be the home run threat. But if the opportunity's there and he's fresh and healthy, like we saw in the first game of CEH's career, he can score. And he does have top 10 potential if everything goes all right. Chris Carson, I think Chris Carson is underrated too. I could see him being in the tier 4 big potential as well. The problem with Chris Carson is he does have an injury history, and we're just not quite sure what that Seattle offense is going to be like. You hear rumors that they're going to get back to the ground and pound. You also hear that they're going to still let Russ cook. If they go back to the traditional Seahawks offense, pure ground and pound, use the rush to open up the pass, Chris Carson is going to be a beast in your lineup. DeAndre Swift. It's all dependent on how bad the offense is going to be. I just don't trust that Lions offense. I just don't think he's going to have the opportunity to score touchdowns, as much goal line, as much red zone opportunities as these other guys. I did a video a couple weeks ago. The Lions quarterback, Jared Goff, is the 32nd ranked deep ball efficient quarterback throwing person in the league, which the defenses are aware of, so they can stack the box, take away their run game, double team Hawkinson. They don't really have any weapons on the outside, which is really going to hurt his efficiency, I feel like. Not to mention Jamal Williams is also in town. 2 years, $6 million, and they don't pay backups that kind of money. So there's a role for Jamal Williams on this team, whether that's goal line opportunities, first down carries, who knows? We just don't know how they're going to use him, but he's going to have a part. Next running back, Darrell Henderson. I just can't get sold on the Darrell Henderson train. He's just, every situation he's been in through his career where we've thought that maybe he was going to get the bulk of the carries, he just doesn't. He's always in some sort of split. I envision the Rams bringing in some sort of veteran to split carries with Henderson. Henderson's definitely going to have a role in the offense, don't get me wrong. Sean McVay came out yesterday and said that talent is not the reason that Henderson isn't the true workhorse. It's because his body doesn't hold up once he starts getting those numbers. If your coach is saying that, then he knows that just doesn't magically change. So I'm just not sold on his true workhorse projection that a lot of people have. Myles Gaskin, kind of the same. Is he the true workhorse? Who knows? He had some boomer bust games last year. Pretty efficient, 8 to 12 PPR points a week. I think the offense in Miami is going to be a lot better this year. A lot of things have to go right for him to get to that top 10 status. Not to mention they brought in some other running backs, free agents. They still have Ahmad, and I can't remember off the top of my head the others. But they didn't draft anybody. And when you really don't bring in that draft capital, usually that team is pretty set on who they want to be their main guy. So Gaskin could have a boomer bust season, but I'm looking at him probably finishing RB2, potential high-end RB2. I think is probably his ceiling. So then we have tier 6, and this is the running backs who are going to be in splits this year. Just my projection are going to be in splits. This is just based on what I think about the players. I don't have a lot of reports, but I have to do my projections. I think these are the running backs. Josh Jacobs, they brought Kenyon Drake in to play a role. I don't know what that role is going to be, but there's going to be some sort of split in there. Just the reports out of camp regarding Josh Jacobs. Mike Davis, everyone's hyped for the Mike Davis train in Atlanta. He's a bigger back, more of a banger. I just feel like they have a couple small scat backs behind him that's going to take some of the pass catching role. Mike Davis did get a heavy workload in Carolina last year when CMC went out. So he showed that he's pretty efficient with those carries, but towards the tail end of that run he had, you started to see his numbers decline steadily. So I think it really just depends on how they use him. If you looked at the end of the years and he's the workhorse running back, yeah, sure, he's going to be high-end RB2, low-end RB1. That could happen. But I really think there's going to be some sort of split or committee. Miles Sanders, I love Miles Sanders, I'm not going to lie. But the reports out of Philadelphia is it's going to be some sort of split. They aren't set on Miles Sanders being the workhorse back. When you have bad reports out of training camp, there's usually some substance to those reports. Chase Edmonds, kind of like what I was talking about with Henderson a little bit ago. Chase Edmonds has had the opportunity to get carries in the past, but it's always in the sort of split once it comes down to it. James Conner's there, the split's going to happen. James Robinson, great rookie season. Honestly, probably the best rookie season for an undrafted rookie running back of all time. Urban Meyer comes to town. The first thing he does to reward him on that great rookie season is draft Travis Etienne in the first round. You don't draft someone in the first round not to have a role. There's going to be a split. Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette eating snaps from each other week by week. Someone will explode for 25 fantasy points. The other person will have 0. Then the next week, you think you have him figured out, and it's the other one that explodes. Avoid that backfield. Kareem Hunt, he's too good of a running back not to have a role in the offense, so he is going to eat into Nick Chubb's workload a little bit, but I think his ceiling's capped because I do think the Browns believe in Nick Chubb a lot. I think his snap percentage is going to be around 50. I don't know. I think they're going to play him in the slot sometimes too. Keep them both on the field. I like those. In Dynasty, though, I know this is a little caveat. I'm trying to buy Kareem Hunt just because I think he's going to be on a new offense next year, and he's already proven that he can lead the league in rushing. A new offense, Kareem Hunt could be your RB1 in rushing yards. Excuse me. Melvin Gordon, they drafted Javonte Williams in the second round. Again, eventually Javonte Williams is going to have a role. David Johnson, the Houston Texans signed every running back on their son. Peyton Lindsay, or not Philip Lindsay, excuse me. Mark Ingram, there's some others. How they split up those carries, who knows? But let's be honest, the Texans are going to have one of the worst offenses in the NFL. They're not going to have very many red zone or goal line carries. So David Johnson's ceiling's automatically capped because they're just not going to have many scoring opportunities. Zach Moss has some upside. Is he going to be the lead back finally? He gets injured a lot. That's been a knock on him since out of college. He has ability when he's in there. How much is Singletary going to take away from him? Damian Harris, I think he's going to be that first down, second down back for the Patriots, and they bring in James White. So I'm only taking Damian Harris in standard leagues, which I currently don't participate in. So I guess I'm not taking Damian Harris. And Mostert, who's one of the most elusive back in the NFL when he's healthy. The only problem is he's not healthy. He plays one game, he's on IR, or he misses 4 games. When he's on the field, though, he is explosive. It seems like every time he's on the field, he's getting a 60 to 80-yard rush for a touchdown. All right, in Tier 7, these are the rookies who will probably take over eventually. So these are the guys that in a regular one-year league that you're drafting in the 8th, 9th round only if you have 2 or 3 running backs on your roster that can contribute right away. Reason for that being is these guys aren't really going to have a role till week 6 or 7 or 8. Eventually they'll take over, but you're going to have to wait a little bit for them to get you production. Travis Etienne, Javonte Williams, Trey Sermon, Michael Carter. Excuse me. I think they'll all have the role eventually. They will all lead their team in runs by the end of the year. It's going to take a while to get there. So, again, hopefully that helps out. This tier list is something I do each year. Take it for what it's worth. It's just my perspective on it. There's no order once you're in the tier. So, for instance, tier 4, I have Mixon, Gibson, Montgomery, Dobbins. I think they're all going to score about the same amount of points. So I don't care if you like Montgomery more than Mixon, take them. I don't care if you like Gibson more than Dobbins, take them. They are all interchangeable to me. When you're making this tier list for yourself, keep in mind what injuries have these guys suffered in the past that might hamper their ability to score fantasy points for you this year. Hey, hope you can use this to your advantage. Win some money this year, guys. Please like and subscribe if you haven't yet. Share my videos. I really do appreciate it. We're up to 26 subscribers in 2 weeks. Love it. We've had over 350 views so far, so it's going well. Hey, new video tomorrow. We're going to do the wide receivers. Peace.